Hey everybody, it's time for another MRC match casting. This time joining me is special guest Celestiun. Go ahead and say hi.
Hey everybody, hold the applause and the booze for my haters.
Yeah, unfortunately, Pirate will not be joining us today. He's a little busy, but Celestian's going to fill in and we'll get through this. We're going to be trying a new format. Hopefully, it'll go a little bit quicker than what you guys might be used to. So it's going to be a little bit less detailed, but hopefully a little bit better on your time budget.
See if we can
Anything
talk
you,
fast.
yeah, we're going to try. Want to tell the audience a little bit about yourself, Celestian? Anything they might need to know about you?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people in the Discord know me. I love the logistics side of BattleTech, and I'm a big fan of Mech HQ and the MRC around here. I'm a real big fan of the Wolverine mech and kicking people in the head. And yeah, that's me.
Right, right
Hashtag
on.
Clan Jade Falcon.
I was just about to say you're also a Jade Falcon supporter, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I mean, my avatar is the Jade Falcon, so what can
Yeah,
you do?
I mean nobody's perfect.
Yeah, the story behind Jade Falcon is that my brother got MechWarrior 2 when we were kids and he picked wolves. So I had to pick the Jade Falcon clan. Couldn't go we couldn't both go wolves. There wasn't
Yeah,
enough wolves to go around. So
naturally. Yeah, I mean as one does.
yeah, let's dive into the matchup.
Okay, first up, first of all, let's talk about our players real quick. We've got Sam from MRC High Command, and I think he's playing for Mercenaries. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but this paint scheme that he is using is a Merc paint scheme. And he's going to be playing against Sacred Defiler, also known as Sacred, and he is playing House Karita. At least that's a Karitan paint scheme that he's been using. So
He's got a panther, so I put my money on Karita myself.
very true. Panther, a Bakimono with C3 and a C3 Wolverine.
Those Kage
Karita's
light battle armor look pretty Karita to me.
yep, that's a safe bet for sure.
Yeah, one of
Okay.
the things I immediately want to jump into is that both players have this unique C3 master slave duo, right? Up here, Sam has a Chimera 2K tied to the Manticore heavy take with the C3 master. So they have one mech, not like a whole network, but just one mech tied to one LRM. And then we've got the Bakamoto slave to the Wolverine. So it's a really interesting thing that both players have done.
Yeah, actually the Bakimono is the master and the Wolverine is the slave. But yeah, similar. They each have a very small C3 network, which is very interesting. So let's go ahead and get into Sam's list, starting with the Ryukin, also known as Stormcrow C. It's a, of course, 55 tonner, as we all know, standard Ryukin movement template with the 6.9, 182 out of 185 armor, 20 heat sinks total. It's got an LB10X, a large pulse laser, and two medium pulse lasers. So this is just coming in over a cheese score. So he's going to get a slight cheese score because this was Are You Afraid of the Dark Age, which is a Vapor tournament.
Yeah, the pulse laser boating and the LBX-10 is all very tied to I can hit things pretty consistently, and the Ryokin doesn't move that slowly. So like a walking speed of 6 means it can pretty much get a TMM of 2, and it can constantly push shots, even if it has to go fast. So
Yeah,
it's also max armored at 182 out of 185 for its tonnage, which means that like it's not that easy to put down for its weight class. It's going to be hitting shots, and it's going to be sticking around through.
yeah, and it's almost heat neutral. It'll generate two heat if it runs, or one if it walks. But its weapon profile is exactly 20 heat, which is all 20 of its heat sinks. So depending on how much it moves, is how much it's going to overheat.
Yeah, it's a very tuned machine. Next up, we got the Charger, though. And of course, it's got a sword, triple strength manometers, and a targeting computer.
And it's 585 movement profile. So this little charger's got some jumping capability. For as far as weapons, we've got a stub nose PPC, a light PPC, two ER mediums, a regular medium laser, a small laser, and an ER small laser in the head. So energy boat with TSM goes hand in hand.
Yeah, it's definitely a very interesting array of like lasers from small to large. On a charger of all things, packing a sword, it can engage at pretty much any range you need it to. Uh, but it wants to do that slobber knocker objective of week 2 of Dark Age. And that's what the match we're doing here today is slobber knocker. So everyone's trying to get hits and not miss hits because missing is bad for the objective.
That
So
is
it'll be
correct. Sorry about that. Missing will give your opponent objective score, while hitting melee attacks will give yourself objective score.
I'm actually really interested to see how the swords play out. He's got 2 of them in the list, one in the Chimera and the next mech. And blocking is a thing you can do to prevent someone from hitting you with the sword. So I wonder if anyone will block this match.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, well, yeah, it could get real interesting because his mechs are fairly mobile and they're fairly skilled too. The Ryukin is 3-4 and the Charger is 3-3 so far. And getting into the Chimera, it's also 4-3. So expect those melee hits to be landing.
This thing looks like just a baby Charger 3KR. A little bit faster at 711. It's sacrificing armor, but it's got another small pulse laser, small laser, snub no PPC, medium lasers, same kind of weapon array as the Charger. But it's also packing trickle strength and a sword as well in its hand. So like it's like a little squire to the big Charger Knight to kind of like tag team things. But this is
Yeah,
the one that's tied to the Manticore as a slave master.
yeah, definitely. It's very similar loadout. It does jump for 7, so it's going to be just ahead of that Charger, giving C3 data back to that Manticore. That's a nice little dangerous duo getting into melee with stuff. I like it.
The list is also has this piling skill of 3 on this Chimera, just like the Charger, and it's sacrificed a gunnery point here, so its priorities are clear. It wants to get up, it wants to kick things.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like maybe he could have saved some points and put that Charger at 4-3 since he's going to be getting up close and personal regardless, but we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah. Next up, we got the Aryan Strike VTOL with BAP variant. It's just got one ER large laser, but it's packing ECM and an active probe, and maybe it can have a battle armor mag clamp squad, but I don't think the rated battle armor is attached to it.
No, I think the Raiden battle armor is more than likely going to be on the Ryukin. I don't think they're a mag clamp squad or X mag. One thing to
We'll
note,
see.
it is 1218 movement profile, which means this thing is very speedy. It's going to be extremely hard to hit if he maneuvers it well.
Do we expect anything less from our VTOLs, though?
There are some slower ones, but anything under double digits is asking to just get swatted out of the sky, if you ask me.
It is packing heavy ferrous fiber armor with 69 armor points in total.
Yeah, for a VTOL, it's fairly well armored, realistically. 18 in the front, 16 in both sides, and 17 in the rear. It can take a hit from most weapons and still be okay, assuming it's not the rotor.
I definitely see it crashing before it gets shot out by something like LBX, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Although you never know, those motive crits can get pretty heinous. All right, up next, we do have the Raiden Battle Armor anti-infantry variant. Movement profile of 113. They've got 9 armor and 1 internal, which means a PPC will kill a trooper outright. They've got a machine gun and a flamer for their weapons. They can, of course, leg attack, and they do have a vibro claw, so their melee attack will be a little bit more damaging.
Do battle armor melee attacks count for Slobber Knocker?
Yes, yes, they do, as do protomech attacks. Anything that is considered a melee attack does count. So does Swarm, actually. A Swarm attack will count for Slobber Knocker as well, as do any of the additional Swarm attacks after the initial swarming of the opponent's mech.
We'll see if he's able to pull any of those off.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get him in range. I think the only taxi he's going to have is that Ryukin. So where that Ryukin's going to be the Raiden's ticket to glory there.
Yeah, so we round out the list with a Manticore Heavy Tank as the master, as previously noted. It's only 4-6, and it's like moderately armored at 188 total fair fibers points, but it's got a PPC, Streak SRM2, and LRM10, and it's
That's
packing Artemis 4.
I just noticed this. This tank is only 1,000 battle value. I mean, yeah, you've got the C3 to the Chimera. Like Chimera is almost double the cost of this tank. I don't even know if the C3 is really worth it for just a PPC and an LRM-10 to get the data.
I
The
mean,
LRM-10 does have Artemis, but it's not what I would consider heavy fire support.
I think it's more like it can sit in the back and hit shots. Like if he can keep this thing like really far back, anything that tries to get behind the Chimera or behind the Charger, which if they're running right in seems pretty likely, this thing being very far away and in the very back of the formation will be punching at anything's back armor because nothing's going to be facing it. And so being able to just throw a PPC at someone's rear armor seems worth 1,000 in a
Yeah,
10K match. That could be nice.
it is. It is very cheap. So we'll see if he can put it to good use. It is well armored too, so it's not going to go down like a chump.
It also feels like a distinctly like dark age idea. It's like I want to use C3 somewhere in my list, right? Can I do something not that costly and just kind of make it work?
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of making it work, let's get into Sacred's list. He's got the Wolverine WVR-9W2 starting us off, and it's got a 587 movement profile. So it's got those improved jump jets with 24 total heat sinks, 169 out of 185 armor, not bad. And it's got an MML5, an ER small, two light PPCs, and an ER medium.
Well, backed
So
up with Artemis,
yes, Artemis does help for both the SRMs and the LRMs on that MML5.
protected by case and ECM suite and a C3 computer.
Yeah, so this is a really good Wolverine as far as I'm concerned. One of the best as far as C3 is it's one of the best C3 Wolverines that almost any faction has available to it.
Yeah, it's definitely like hard to put down, well armored, packs a punch, and is tied to the second mech, which is an O Bakemono, which really is just a longbow in a top hat and a trench coat that's got two MRM 40s.
Whoa, two MRM 40s, C3 Master, two medium lasers, and a small laser. This thing is fairly heavily armored at 224 out of 247, but it's not really going anywhere in a hurry at a 3.5 movement profile and only 24 heat sinks.
I
It
feel
can,
like the enemy has to come to hit though.
yeah, it probably does, but it's only got enough heat sinks to fire those MRM 40s before it starts to overheat. Both of them take up all 24 of its heat sinks, so it can't really walk around and fire freely every turn.
I mean, like, what's it really losing though? Two medium lasers and a small laser. If it's using those, it's probably out of ammo. It doesn't need to
Yeah,
fire anything else.
very true. One thing I do not like about this, anytime I see MRM, I always want to see Apollo down here in the equipment section, and I do not see Apollo fire control for the MRMs, which means they are going to be shooting at that +1. So I don't expect them to hit too often. Hopefully, the C3 will help cancel out that firing penalty.
That really seems like the trade-off here is like, can the C3 with the Wolverine pull off the space that Apollo would pull off? I think it's riskier, where like if you lose the Wolverine, now you're like, oh, Bakamano doesn't have its Apollo equivalent, but maybe it's cheaper battle value wise. I'm not really certain, and I have never seen this specific longbow variant in the field before. At 3-4, I think it's gonna do work, because just this model of mech always does work whether it hits all the time or not. But hey, maybe MRMs are just really not good.
All right, let's get into the next mech. And the first thing that jumps out at me is that there are two pilots in this mech, which means it's got a command console for its cockpit. So he will be getting +2 to initiative every turn as long as that second pilot is conscious.
And what better place to put a command console than a Marauder 2's Mad 6C? The Inner Sphere variant, not a Clan Marauder 2C, a Inner Sphere Marauder Mad 6C. And
Yeah,
it's
so
got 3 ER PPCs.
yeah, three ER PPCs with two backup medium lasers, ER medium lasers. Sorry, it's got 44 total heat sinks, so it can't really fire everything, but it can fire all three of those ER PPCs and walk or run, and then cool off for a turn maybe. But it is fully armored at 307 out of 307 for a 100-ton mech. So I don't expect this thing to go down anytime soon, if at all, during this match.
As somebody who loves his 100-ton turret mechs, I can say that one of the things that brings them down a lot is a gyro hit, and then just knocking it over. This thing's got a compact gyro, which keeps it safe from those hits. I'd rather
Yeah.
take an engine hit on my 100-tonner than a gyro hit any day.
Oh yeah, definitely. It does mean that it's more likely to hit the engine or the command console or anything else that might be in the center torso than the gyro. But like you said, falling over, especially when you're a 4-5, is going to be rough on a sniper mech.
I mean, it's got enough double heatsink padding.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully those heat sinks will soak the shots and keep that gyro safe.
All right, next we got a Panther for more PPC goodness.
So it's a 464 movement profile, 104 out of 119. Not bad as far as armor is concerned, but it's only 35 tons and it's not moving anywhere in a hurry. 24 total heat sinks, one ERPPC, and two SRM4s with case.
I mean, it's just a sturdy little trooper mech in the light profile. It's what you want out of a Panther, right? A PPC and some SRMs.
Yeah, for 900 battle value, I mean, can't really complain too much. I mean, I
I,
can, but I won't complain too much.
I feel like it's going to be guarding the Bakemono and the Marauder, which feel like they want to sit back and just punch stuff. Something has to stay close.
Yeah, and it's not, you don't want to just throw that Wolverine out there by itself and leave it to fend for itself against the wolves. All right,
Well,
so not. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I feel like the Sunder, the next mech, is really going to be the one backing up the Wolverine upfield. Right? It's only 4-6, but I feel this thing is going to run like straight at the opponent. It's got snub nose PPCs, twin streak SRM 6s, an LBX 10, and a medium laser. It feels like a mid range brawler here, and it wants to really bully anybody trying to come up the field.
Yeah, that LBX is going to be real dangerous, especially to that air on strike VTOL. Motive crits are no joke, and LBX does get the -2 to shoot at it in flak mode. It is very heavily armored and it's got 30 heat sinks, so it can fire pretty much most of its loadout and be fine. It'll have to drop maybe an ER medium or one streak 6 or something, depending on the distance. But I like this mech. The Sunder OE is pretty solid for a brawler. He's going to get up there and wreck shop in close range.
It's definitely going to be hard to move, and its weight is going to really protect it against this Chimera and Charger combo that are going to try to come in and cut him up. I don't know if they're going to try and like run away from it because it's so slow, or they're just going to try and like get it on the ground and cut it to pieces. But it'll be interesting to see what position it takes.
Yeah, definitely. And last but not least, whoops, we're going to take a look at the Kage Light Battle Armor. So it moves at 114. It's got stealth armor, so it's going to be even harder to hit than battle armor usually is. It's only got 5 armor and 1 internal on each trooper. So um, a medium pulse laser, a clan medium pulse laser, or an inner sphere variety, either one will kill a trooper in one shot. So they don't really have the staying power, but they are fast and annoying. They've only got an auto rifle as far as weapons are concerned, but they do have single hex ECM, and I don't think they have the battle claw. So they're really just going to be a nuisance and for spotting purposes, from what I gather.
Yeah, I mean, partial wing and single hex ECM is like a really clear mission. This thing's goal is to jump on something that has C3 or a targeting computer and take it out of commission and hang on. It's not really your traditional battle armor that wants to get on something and just tear it apart. This thing is there to disrupt. And so if it can disrupt one thing with C3, either the Chimera or the Manticore this game, it'll have accomplished its mission.
Yeah, and it's only 124 battle value. So any use you get out of this is value outright. And
I
the
mean,
single hex ECM can ECCM an opponent's ECM. That way you can get your own C3 network back up and running if necessary as well.
yeah, it's always an initiative sync too.
Oh
So,
yeah, definitely. All right.
and
So
that's the list. Who do
yeah,
we
that's
think is like which list is scarier here?
all right. So I like Sam's list just a little bit more in flavor. It's a little bit faster. It's a little bit more dangerous up close and personal, which is what the mission objective is. But Sacred's list has a lot of beef. The Bakemono, the Marauder, the Sunder. He's got 3 assault mechs going up against 1 charger. I think it's going to be tough for Sam to get through all this armor,
Sam
especially considering.
has
Go ahead.
264 tonnage, and Sacred has 364 tonnage. He has 100 more tons in his list.
Yeah, and that's a huge discrepancy, especially for a mission objective that is basically kill each other. If there were a little bit more movement involved in this mission objective, I would definitely give it to Sam because he's a little more agile across the board as far as his mechs and are concerned. But since it's a brawl, I'm gonna have to give it to the brawling list. I think Sacred's gonna take this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think all that movement's just going to get you into point blank range where you're going to get kicked. And getting kicked by 90 and 80 ton and 100-ton mechs is not a good thing for your little 40s and 50s.
Yeah, definitely. And that Wolverine is no slouch either.
Yeah, so let's dive into the match.
All right, we're back into the game. Just to let you guys know, this match was submitted by Sam from MRC High Command, so we will be watching this from his perspective, which is why you can tell it's double blind, and all we can see currently is his mechs, and they're all U right now, which means unseen. So we can't see any of Sacred's mechs anyway. So we're going to be going at this from his perspective for the time being.
I really like seeing matches of strategy games from one player's perspective. It gives you a better idea of their headspace, of like when they knew when they make choices. Because when you have this kind of bird's eye view, it can be very clear to be like, oh, he should have gone here. Oh, why did he move there? Oh, it's so close. But you get a real feel for the player when you have the information they have.
Yeah, definitely. And the command console's already coming into play. They both rolled a 7, but Sacred's taking the initiative win on the first turn due to that +2 from the console.
We've got this huge river, like lake in the middle of the match, and immediately after the first movement, we can see that the Marauder and Kage light battle armor have taken up a cliff overlooking the river, and Sam has moved up behind this other hill, blocking it. So we have this high ground versus high ground with a moat versus a pillar cover scenario.
Yeah, something tells me that Marauder's never coming off that perch because it's either going to have to back down and make piling checks to get off that hill, or walk forward into depth 1 water off of a level 2 or 3 height hex, which I don't think is going to happen. That Marauder 2 is perched.
I mean, I think it has to happen because otherwise he's not really going to be able to engage Sam in the right way. If his Marauder is just sitting up there, it is like a huge portion of the map is obscured by the South Hill, and so it just I wouldn't send my Wolverine into there against the Chargers and the Chimera all alone without the Marauder fire support. He was paying a lot of BV for that mech, and to just bench it like that because he wants to stay on a nice high point.
Yeah, I mean that's true. He does not have line of sight where he's at currently. But as the fight opens up, I'm sure he'll get some decent lanes of fire. Although you never know, he may just be stuck there and have no shots and refuse to get off of his little sniper perch.
I mean, he can play it slow and bring the Bakemono around for a different line of sight and try to flush him out. We'll see how this plays out. It's kind of a solid neutral game. One's got a lot of height, but the other one's got perfect cover.
Definitely. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the game at the combat log for the first turn. Looks like the Aaron fires at the Marauder 2. Doesn't really do anything. Wolverine's getting its TSM up, I guess. It's firing at a random hex. So a clear hex at that. So it's not clearing out forest. Bakimoto as well, and the Marauder 2. They're all clearing out one particular hex. And the Sunder takes shots at the Aeron strike VTOL, but doesn't connect on anything.
Yeah, it needs 12s and 11s at this range. I mean, you said the Aeron strike vehicle didn't do anything, but it did actually hit a mech. It hit that Marauder. So now we've got this duel between, the Marauder up on a hill and a VTOL that can just make its own hill with its rotor.
You're right. It did do 8 damage to the Marauder. It's still got 26 armor in that arm, but it hit it. So chipping away slowly but surely.
8 armor, 8 damage more than anybody else.
Yeah, definitely. Whoa, does that? Hang on. It says Bakimono will begin dumping MRM 40 ammo in the following round. That's interesting. I wonder if he's got too much ammo to use in a 15-round turn, and if he's dumping extras.
He's concerned. He's immediately opening with ammo dumping. Interesting. So he really expects it to live a long time.
Apparently, yeah. Oh, and going into round two, Sacred rolls a 12 plus 2 for a 14, which means Sam has no chance to win initiative. He rolled a 5, by the way.
I mean, a 14 is pretty hard to debate. That command console has put the initiative out of reach for Sam.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so looking at the movement for round two, I can find it. There we go. It looks like there was a little bit more posturing with Sam pulling back most of his units away from that central hill. And I can only assume Sacred moved some of his units up. It looks like the Wolverine stayed in the same spot or jumped up a little bit, and the Kage jumped across the river and is now exposed on top of a level 4 hill with pretty much nothing stopping it from getting unloaded on.
Everything can see it, but maybe it's going to try and spot for something. I don't know what the idea was here other than just to get information on where Sam is really positioning.
Yeah, it is double blind, so we can't see the lines of fire for Sacred, but we can see all of Sam's, and they're all going toward that poor little Kage light battle armor. So the Kage can see everything, so he knows now where all of Sam's units are, but it may cost him his 150-point battle armor.
Sam's being really conservative with his positioning here by backing up, taking trees, and holding to the hills. So he's really trying to avoid that marauder that he spotted with his VTOL early. And so both scouting units on each side are really paying off in this double blind match.
Yeah, I would say Sam probably has the advantage when it comes to scouting because that VTOL can just go up to height 4 or 5 and then see the entire map. But we'll go ahead and get into the combat log. It looks like the C3 Manticore was able to shoot at the Kage, but it looks like it hit the woods. I'm
That's
sorry.
weapon fire for a different thing. So that's a thing
Oh,
that you
never
can't
mind.
see.
That's the question mark. Okay, so
Yeah.
the LRM-10 on the Manticore whiffed, needing tens. My bad. And
Hmm.
then one of it looks like Sacred's firing at the terrain again, getting rid of some light woods. And the Ryukin lays into the Kage, kills 1, 2, 3 troopers. Like I mentioned earlier, one medium pulse laser is enough to kill one trooper, and it stays true. The large pulse and both medium pulses connect, eliminating 3 of the 4 troopers, which means that Kage light battle armor is already in force withdrawal, turn 2.
Yeah, it's absolutely paid off landing all three of those shots on that armor. I mean, it's still providing vision with the men it has left, but it's not going to be doing much of anything. Then
Yeah,
again, it's only really got to be one guy for the ECM, but with force
very.
withdrawal, it's got to leave the map.
Not in the NFL format that Vapor likes to run. If since it's in forced withdrawal, it can no longer score objectives, but it doesn't have to retreat off the map. And you can if you want to deny your opponent points.
Interesting. Well,
Yeah,
then it can still do everything it needs to do by jumping on something, though I don't think it's going to get very far.
yeah. Looks like the Charger and the Chimera miss all of their shots on the battle armor. Granted, they needed 12s and 9s at best, so not surprising there. So one trooper will survive the turn.
Yeah, I mean it's a pretty quiet turn other than the obliteration of the battle armor squad here. Not much
Yeah,
has vision yet.
yeah, definitely a positioning turn for sure. Getting into round three, Sacred rolls an 11, 9 plus 2 from the console, and Sam only rolls a 7. So that's 3 turns in a row. But Sacred has initiative.
I
Let's go ahead
mean,
and,
if Sam's rolls weren't terrible, I'd say, it was just a run of bad luck, but the command console is going to make sure this keeps happening.
yeah, and any ties get broken, like we saw on that first turn. So it's going to be a consistent theme, I'm sure. And it's going to be that much more difficult for Sam to get his melee mechs into melee.
Round 3 movement.
Yeah, it looks like Sam's staying on the defensive, and Sacred is pulling most of his units back onto the other side of the river. You were right on that call that he's going to pull that Marauder 2 back because it's definitely not on its little sniper perch anymore.
Sam has
Uh,
moved up just behind that little hill, and his sensors have gone long, so we can see a sensor return at the bottom of the hill and not the top of it anymore. So even though he doesn't have line of sight, he can see where all the enemy mechs are.
yeah, that's that Beagle active probe coming into play there for sure. Definitely a huge help on double blind. It doesn't look like there's going to be any shots this turn. If there is, they're going to be long shots for sure.
This river battle is really interesting because both sides have a lot of cover on each side. One's got a forest, one has a straight up hill line. And so that hard cover and that soft cover means nobody really wants to push into this sometimes 3 hex wide river. It's only depth 1, but who wants to get caught in the water against the melee mechs? The melee mechs can't sprint across the water, and so they're not really going to be able to push past there. And the long range sacred list doesn't really want to go across the river anyway. So we've kind of got a stalemate. We'll see
Yeah.
who can break it and how.
Yeah, coming into round 4, Sacred actually loses initiative, rolling a 5, +2 gets a 7. Sam rolls a 9 and wins initiative for the first time this game. Unfortunately, I don't think he's going to be in position to capitalize on it currently. Oh, okay. So that's the Kage light battle armor moving up just onto the edge of the river. He's still behind a level 2 on a level 1, so he's not in line of sight, which means he's definitely safe for this turn. But
He's
if
in
you
sensor range though, and he's probably providing sensor returns in that little cover spot.
Yeah, definitely. And if you look, it looks like Sacred's starting to shift his units to the west side of the map, maybe trying to cross at one of those 2 hex wide portions of the river. And there's a 1 hex wide portion where the Marauder 2 is. That might have been the better bet, but he is spreading his gun line out and sitting in heavy forest with most of his mechs just to be on the safe side.
I think he's really reaching just for vision around that hill and seeing like which side the enemy force is going to come out of. Because if he tries to cross the river on the opposite side of the hill from his marauder, he's putting a lot of vision blocking material very far away from his main gun.
Yeah, that's true. And he's got 0 forest cover on that side. So it looks like it's going to be another positioning round. I don't see very many lines of fire happening. The only mechs that are in visual range are the Wolverine and the Marauder for Sacred. And there's a handful of mechs that can see, I guess, the Charger. And I can't tell what that is. That's got to be the Chimera.
It feels like the Chimera out there. So yeah, Sacred's brought his Marauder closer towards the middle of his rest of his mechs, and he's managed to catch the Charger and the Raiden battle armor on the same hex in a little spot in the wood line. They're trying to I'm sorry, not the wood line, the hill line. And so he's managed to find a little shot here, and we're gonna see if he's got a good response. I feel like the Charger and the Chimera don't really have the range to play with the Marauder at this kind of lane.
No, definitely. Those ERPPCs are going to be much more efficient than the snub nose that the Charger and that Chimera have.
Yeah, the Wolverine's got a little bit of a shot at the Charger as well, but it needs 12s, so it's hitting nothing.
Yeah, the Marauder 2 does connect with one of 3 ERPPCs in the Charger. Not much else to write home about. The Charger does connect with a light PPC on the Marauder and a medium laser. And that's pretty much the turn.
I mean, they traded the same amount of damage, so I think the Charger won out here. It didn't get slammed by a bunch of PBCs.
Yeah, it definitely had the worst numbers, but it came out even. So the Marauder can take the damage, but the Charger can to an extent as well. So we'll call this turn a wash. And it looks like Sacred loses initiative 7+2, and Sam rolls an 11. So he's taking initiative for 2 turns in a row. Maybe this turn he can get across that river and mix something up.
You know, I had to say something, right? You know, like the moment I say that the initiative's going to keep doing the thing, it stops doing it.
Usually the initiative is really streaky from what I've noticed. And it's either you always lose or you always win.
Yeah, I mean, we have the option in Megamech to have initiative streak compensation, so the losing player gets a bonus consecutively for each round that they lose. I'd wonder what your viewers think about turning that on for events going forward to kind of make it balanced, because there's definitely those games where you lose initiative all game, and it feels bad, man. So it really depends on the community if we shift towards that option or not, though. Do people like think that the initiative is sacred and we should absolutely let the dice decide, or do we feel like it's too swingy?
Well, I, for one, lost initiative all but one turn in my first two games of this tournament that we're currently observing. So I would love to see some initiative compensation personally, but we'll let you guys comment down below or go ahead and message us in Discord. So we're into the movement phase of round four, and it looks like things are finally starting to shake up a little bit. The Ryukin has exposed itself. It's in the light woods, but pretty much all of Sacred's list can fire back at it. And when it can only really fire by itself, the Chimera is too far away to really capitalize on this. And the Manticore doesn't have line of sight for its PPC currently.
The
The
Charger went
Charger,
the other direction, though, and that's interesting that he's splitting his forces, trying to kind of cross the river at 2 points, it seems here. Uh, but unfortunately, the Charger looks much more concealed than the Ryokan does. To be fair, it doesn't look like the Marauder 2, which backed up, doesn't have a clear line of sight to anything, really. It
yeah,
can't see the Ryokan, and neither can the Bakemono. So, we're gonna. I expect another wash this round.
yeah, I don't expect too many shots to hit, but you never know. A lot of Sacred's mechs have not moved. The back that Bakemono did not move at all. I don't think the Panther moved, so maybe they'll get some decent shots on that Ryukin. Okay, round five. Looks like the Wolverine whiffs on boxcars on the battle armor, which apparently it had line of sight to. And okay, Ryukin takes out the Kage Light battle armor, hits with a large pulse. Doesn't really matter that the other medium pulse connected because it's already dead.
The Marauder did manage to find a shot at the Chimera, but it needed 11s, whiffed everything. So it's really not delivering so far in these sniper matches.
It is a 4-5. That may have something to do with it. Maybe, I mean, it's a very expensive mech to begin with, but maybe dropping that gunnery skill might have been worth it. Panther hits with its ER PPC onto the Stormcrow. Charger hits with its light PPC on the Sunder. Not
Both of
really
those hits
much to
on
write.
right legs, which for a list that needs its legs are good hits to get.
Yep, but we're in the first rounds of really connecting with shots, so not much to really talk about as far as crits or legging people is concerned.
Sunder that was coming around the side has ran into this Charger, which twitched directions, and now it's unloading with its Snubnose PPC, which is hitting, its LBX-10, which is hitting, its Streak 6 that are hitting, with both of them. And so it's putting out damage right into the Charger's breastplates, which are soaking it up. No serious damage, but just armor.
Yeah, but that was definitely a win for Sacred this turn. He got the better end of that trade for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Sam's in a difficult position now because he just spent 2 turns rotating this Charger. And, like, does he back up and change engagement, or does he plow through this river at this Sunderer, which has really consistent shots at him?
Yeah, definitely. We'll have to see. Let's get into the next turn. One thing to note: Sacred did lose initiative again. He rolled a 2 + 2, got a 4, and I think Sam rolled like a 6 or a 7. So that's 3 turns in a row. Again, another streak going on here. That Sam has won initiative versus the command console.
I feel like while he might be winning, these aren't the turns that really he needs the initiative to win. The initiative isn't really making or breaking the positioning here. And, he doesn't have a lot of sneaky moves. But he does pull back the Charger. He decides running into the Sunder is a bad move. He flees into the forest with his Charger and pulls out. He doesn't like this kind of engagement, and he's being conservative.
Yeah, that was definitely an interesting decision. He's taken a beating a little bit and retreating for it.
Sacred is deciding to push forward his Wolverine, though, to chase the Charger over the river. Probably trying to get the ECM and the C3 Master ranging for a Bakemono, maybe for some indirect fire.
Actually, that Bakemono's up on a level 1 hill. He can see that charger. Granted, he's going to have the forest cover, but he definitely has line of sight. It is a heavy woods for cover, so it's not going to be a great shot, but it's a shot.
The VTOL that was trying to like flank around and find back shots from the corner of the map has decided to come back into the center and rotate low. It is flying low behind that hill, so it's staying hidden along with the Manticore tank. The C3 Master has hit with a tag. I mean that feels like indirect fire to me because indirect fire ignores wood hexes, and so you might be able to snipe him out of those woods if
Yeah,
he's using some smart play. We'll see what
but
happens.
the MRMs can't do indirect, if I'm not mistaken. They can only do direct fire. Uh,
Really?
I'm pretty sure they can't do indirect. But there is something with MMLs, if I'm not mistaken, on Sacred's list. I forgot which one it is. It's either the Sunder or maybe it's got to be the Sunder. So it can indirect with those MMLs.
And I mean, like if you have the tag him, right? It just it feels like you're now playing Manhunt. And it's like I gotcha.
Oh yeah, definitely. Now let's go ahead and get into the combat for this turn. Looks like the Aeron Strike VTOL makes its piling check for flanking and turning, thankfully. Like you said, the Manticore. Oh, it was the Manticore that got hit by the Bakemono with the tag, which means the Bakemono has line of sight on that Manticore, which is not good for the Manticore. Wolverine. There it is. It's the Wolverine that has the MMLs. Needed a 10 to hit the Manticore, but whiffed. It hits with the light PPC, and it takes a motive hit. So +2 to driving and -1 MP. The Manticore wasn't quick to begin with, and it's going to be even slower
Nakamoto
this time.
does unload all of its MRM 40s. Unfortunately, both of them miss. All these big sniper mechs are just not delivering the hits they need to have. And this is like the perfect matchup for them. They got a moat, they got hills, not delivering.
And they've got Forest to sit in for the rest of the game too. Yeah, those MRM 40s needing 10s. Not great. Ryukin hits the Marauder 2 with a large and medium pulse. Other than that, everything else miss. Oh, wait, he does hit with the LB10X, just shaving armor off, not really getting any tax or focusing damage on anything in particular. Marauder 2 whiffs with all three ERPPCs needing 10s on their Stormcrow.
I mean, the fire from the Sunderer, he's got a Snubnose PPC at the Charger. He's following up. He's still got vision. But we're looking for 11s here, so he's not getting a lot of damage through. One Snubnose PPC is better than the Marauder, though. So we got the weapon fire from the Manticore heavy tank, and it's returning fire at the Bakemono. Now, the Bakemono missed with all of its shots, but the little Manticore is going to return with an LRM 10. It only needs a 7, which is better than the 10s the MRM needs. Rolls a 12. Now, it only delivers 8 missiles because the ECM is preventing the bonus on the cluster roll, which is pretty good, knocking out that Artemis capability. So it lands 8 damage, one of which criticling, but scoring nothing.
Yep, crit chance, no crit confirm, unfortunately.
Sag.
Uh, yep, the Chimera, on the other hand, does nail the Bakemono on 11s with 2 medium lasers, surprisingly. So a little bit of luck going Sam's way there on some of those long range shots, winning the sniper duel, honestly, this turn when it really shouldn't.
Yeah, the Marauder's taken 20 plus damage this round and put out nothing. It doesn't not fall over, but I mean, the fact that it even has to make a PSR at this range is a bit of a crying shame.
Yeah, I mean, it's only a 5 pilot. You want to keep nailing it for 20 damage every turn, and eventually it's going to fail that 6.
Well, that's the firing for this round. We're going into round 7.
Yep. Sacred hands down wins initiative, rolling boxcars with the +2 for a 14. Sam only rolls an 8. So command console overkilling twice so far this match.
Two 14s in one match. I mean, those are the best dice of the whole game. I wish he would have those dice on his Marauder.
Right?
Had
No
cap
kidding.
something.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't outright kill the unit because it's an inner sphere ERPPC, but it'll definitely give him a convertible mech. All right, let's get into the movement for round seven. Looks like Sam's going to pull back the VTOL, keeping it really, really safe, not wanting to get any shots on it this turn.
I like how both players are being really conservative, and I think it's really interesting that Sam is trying to play his rush list in a kind of backup formation. It's not what I expected this to play out as, but the river has completely changed the game here. And Sam's really adjusting and playing to his strengths, and he's winning.
Yeah, for now, the trades are going in his favor. I think it's a response to the way Sacred's been playing. There's been some turret tech on his end. A lot of his mechs have been sitting in heavy woods on his side of the river, and Sam is pulling back, having none of it, not wanting to let him get free shots on his mechs.
I
He's
think
pulled back
it's
pretty much everything behind cover or out of range this turn.
Yeah, I think it's really smart because while he could try to hold this river and like trade shots, it's only a matter of time until something bad happens. And so giving Sacred the leash to be like, look, man, I'm not gonna fight you over this river. Cross the river and then I can charge you, right? Is a very interesting take. And so I feel like Sam is backing all the way up to the back of the map here, trying to bait something out. And the Wolverine has gone deep. It has
Yeah.
come all the way to the bottom south quadrant of the map chasing this charger.
Yeah, it's
You know,
one hex out of Sam's starting zone or deployment zone, and it's giving that C3 data to that Bakemono. So he might be able to light up that charger or that Chimera this turn with those
I mean, how many
MRM40s.
hexes away are we looking at here? Like, we've got easily like long range LRM fire here. Like one.
That's going to be short range because he's 3 hexes away with that Wolverine.
It
So
seems
if
like
he's in range, it will be short range.
yeah, it's like over a dozen hexes that you're cutting out on range, and so short range at like that far across the map. This is what C3 can do.
But Sam is going to retaliate and pour all of his available fire into that Wolverine because it's the only target that he has this turn.
I think the Wolverine can take it though. I mean, Wolverines are pretty beefy boys.
Yeah, and this one just jumped for 7, so those are not going to be easy shots.
Yeah, if anybody can go this deep and get away with it, it's this Wolverine.
Speaking of getting away with it, let's get into the combat for this turn. Looks like the Bakemono connects on the charger, needing 6s. Wow. Okay, so it should have only needed 5s, but the MRM plus 1 bumps it up to 6s. Connects with 24 missiles on the first MRM 40. Opens up the internal structure on the right arm. Doesn't get a crit, but he does tag it pretty well. It's only got 7 structure remaining.
I gotta say that seeing 24 missiles hit is every LRM boater's dream, and it's being followed up by the second MRM, which is connecting for 18 further missiles, going straight through for a critical hit on the engine.
Ooh, that's brutal. And it takes out an ER medium laser too. Not a good turn so far for Sam. Uh, Wolverine fires at the Charger, hits with one light PPC and an MML5, and takes out the targeting computer that the Charger had. He's down to 5 structure on that right arm and 15 on the left torso.
Yeah, having the exposed upper torso is definitely a really big problem for this charger. It's signaling the death knell here, and the fact that it has no cover and it's not in engagement range with anything but this slippery Wolverine that doesn't want to play fair.
Yeah, that Wolverine is going to be on this Charger for the rest of the match. Unless Sam wins initiative and saves that Wolverine for his last move, it's never going to get away from this Wolverine. I'm sorry, saves the Charger for his last move. The Ryokin's large pulse laser tags the Wolverine, but it's not enough to really do anything to it. Wolverine and the Sunder clear out some more forest or trees or whatever.
Right,
The
with the
Charger,
Marauder.
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
The Marauder also just fires at the ground because it has no targets. This thing's lack of maneuverability and the map has prevented it from really picking any shots it wants, and so the battle has moved away from it.
Yeah, and the Charger, its rebuttal on the Wolverine is pretty brutal, but it's not nearly as bad as the damage it received this turn. That Wolverine is perfectly fine. No armor being penetrated, just shaving it all around across the board, little by little.
I mean, it shows that this charger can put up a fight. it is a 3/3 charger, and so it's not done yet, but I feel like its days are numbered.
Yeah, he took over 40 damage this turn, and he makes his piling check. The Wolverine also makes his piling check, taking 20 plus damage. The Chimera does connect on the Bakemono with its stub nose, adding 10 more damage to its CT, but it's just shaving away at a big old brick.
All right, so we're going that's it for shooting round 7. We're going into initiative phase for round 8. And we have Sam rolling an 11 against Sacred's 10. Command console not making the difference this turn, and this is the turn he needs that initiative in order to get that charger into position. So we'll see if it
Yeah,
works out for him.
yeah, we'll see if he can shake that Wolverine depending on where he jumps that Wolverine. Uh, Hopefully, we'll see if he saves that charger for last. Maybe, maybe not. Depends on what he thinks is more important right now. He may just give up the charger, saying it's a lost cause. He may not have anywhere to jump to get it safe from that Bakemono. Looks like Sacred jumped the Marauder 2 across the river finally for all of 3 hexes. But he is going to be in engagement range next turn. And if Sam wants to, he can unload onto that Marauder now.
That is an epic move. Like taking the high dive off of that level 3 hex that it was standing on, backing up, going back up, jumping the entire river into this cliffside. It's not really a great position for the Marauder to be in, but it is pushing across the river now. And I mean, even a bad position for this Marauder 2 is better than no position.
Yeah, it's definitely set up for next turn. It can just walk up that level 4 hex and see the entire map on Sam's side, and
And
he's gonna have no cover.
it's begging something to pick a fight with it too. Like anything that's like wants to punish its position, it's gonna really have a hard time. I mean, if it was me, I'd see if that Ryokan could charge it and push it into the river.
Yeah,
That
that would
feels,
be an automatic fall for
yeah,
sure into depth 1 water, which can be very lethal.
yeah. I mean, if it fell and it breached any of its torso or any of its legs, you could put the whole mech out of commission.
Definitely. That might be a risk worth taking. Now, I don't like this. Sam moved the charger not as his last move, and he moved it up against the border of the map while the Wolverine is in range. It can just walk up or jump up next to it and push it off the map.
I mean, I know I just said I was gonna do a charge move, but that's a charge move lineup right there. You're just begging for the Wolverine to death from above you and force you off the map.
Yeah, definitely. The Charger did jump for 5, so it's got a decent TMM, and it's got a good piloting skill, better than that Wolverine. So DFA may not be the way you want to go. But that being said, that's a juicy, juicy target. Maybe you go for that charge after all.
I mean, both of these charges have the capability of putting an entire mech off the table. And so while they might not be the best play, like the risk of failing them versus the reward from winning them is pretty huge. But I feel like both of these players are going to play safe.
Yeah, Sam pulled the Ryukin back to help back up the Charger and protect it from that Wolverine, which actually decided to jump back away from the Charger. So I guess he's given up the chase for the time being. The Chimera is the only mech in any position to really get aggressive this turn.
Manticore is just like trying to hide along this hill. It's trying to just like sneak up and hold this, stay out of the Marauder 2's sight.
And it can do that pretty much the entire game since it's a vehicle. And unless that Marauder 2 gets adjacent to it while it's hiding behind these level 1 and level 2 hills, it's never going to be in line of sight.
What I really love is this Raiden battle armor that's just hiding in this bush here, right? It is waiting for its moment to jump on that Marauder. And if it can get in there, and then it can start doing some melee attacks. Has anyone actually landed any Slobber Knocker hits so far? I don't think they have.
No, they haven't even been in melee range this this whole game. Right now, the Chimera just jumped into melee range with the Wolverine for the first time this match.
We're on
So
what round eight, nine,
I think
eight?
it's either round 8 or 9. You know what? That's the last move of the turn. It is definitely round 8 now that we're looking at the combat log. So they're halfway through the game, which has been very positioning intensive, and they're barely getting into melee range with each other. That river is throwing a monkey wrench into both of these players' plans.
The Bakemono hits the Chimera with its C3 computer targeting computer.
Only needing 8s, which is a scary thought for such a fast mech. It's in point blank range with that Wolverine, which means it's all short range for the Bakemono.
Yeah, I mean, the Manticore is going to open us up with hitting the Bakemono with its LRM-10 again for another 8 missiles. I mean, it's just constantly just poking this thing's eye.
It wished it's poked it in the eye. It's only getting the arms and leg, and it's scattering the damage. It needs to really penetrate on one particular location. Weapons fire for the Sunder, dual sub-nose PPCs whiffing on the Chimera needs 9s, 10s, and 12s across the board, and everything misses. So the Chimera speed tanking the Sunder pretty effectively this turn.
Even the LBX-10 cluster ammo isn't enough to hit this thing.
Yeah, barely. Needed 9s, rolled an 8. The Wolverine, on the other hand, also misses, needing boxcars across the board for all 3 shots on the Chimera. No dice, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not in a position to really take the shots it's trying to take. Pulse lasers is going to come through on the Ryokin, though, at the Bakemono. I mean, these things keep hitting.
Eventually, something's got to give. 10 damage, 8 damage here, 10 damage here, another 5 damage there. Uh, Eventually, he'll get through to something juicy.
You know who is delivering again, though? The Bakemoto's putting out more MRM-40s, and it is tired of the Manticore heavy tank, laying down 12 missiles right at it.
It only fired one MRM-40, curiously, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that concerned with really putting the Manticore out with volumes of fire, so it's like using it as a heat turn. However, it is put the Streak SRM-2 out of commission with a critical, and this is the thing about vehicles. They take a lot of critical hits, especially from cluster weapons like MRM and LRMs and SRMs.
Yeah, so that's another motive hit on this Manticore, which is another -1 to its movement, which means it's only going to be scooching for like 2 or 3 hexes each turn. Not great.
So the Marauder has managed to hit something. Some trees.
Converted heavy woods to light woods. Yay!
Hooray! Well, I mean, that impacts its movement ability, so it's able to actually get through there. I don't know what Hex is actually shooting, but hey, it shot him.
Oh, surprisingly, the Chimera went for the Panther. Maybe he had better numbers on the Panther than he did the Wolverine that he's in point blank range with.
Yeah, 10s and 12s aren't getting very far, though. But the Panther, however, is returning fire at the Manticore Heavy Tank, deciding to hit it with its PPC and an SRM-4, which is just making driving even harder, and is just starting to really strip the armor off the front of that Manticore tank. Thing is, though, it's basically a box.
Yeah, and if that's the third motive hit, it's got to be down to 1 or 2 hexes per turn as
Yeah.
of right now.
It's kind of where it wants to be, though, just harassing that Bakemono and drawing fire.
Yeah, definitely. He's in a decent spot where he's at now. The Aeron Strike VTOL does nail the Panther in the head with its CR large laser. Not enough to get a crit roll, but the pilot does take the crit or the pilot hit. So little by little, small victories here and there.
I mean, you can't really ask for a better shot from your VTOL than a head hit.
Definitely, and especially when it's only got one weapon. Unfortunately, the Chimera does miss the sword attack on the Wolverine, which means Sacred does get objective points for the missed physical attack.
Only 2 objective points, but hey, that's all the objective points so far.
Yep. So Sacred takes an early or well late objective lead since we're getting into round 9 now.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like swinging at a jumping Wolverine and trying to get a 9 is a losing battle. Because even if you hit again next turn, like you've only gotten 3 points net. Like 5 minus 2. Is it really worth taking that 9-point melee attack?
Yeah, I mean, you could bonk him in the head if you get lucky. I don't think he took the -4, or I'm sorry, +4 penalty to roll on the punch table. But maybe next turn, now that he's up a little bit closer, he can jump into melee with one of these bigger, heavier mechs that have not been moving, and take that -4 for the punch table and bonk something in the head with its sword with TSM and one shot it.
mean, you're right. Maybe the TSM punch is worth the damage. Screw the objective points.
Yeah, no kidding. Although maybe double punching instead of swinging the sword might have been the best bet. But you don't get the -2 that the sword gives you, which means he would have needed 11s.
Yeah, 11s aren't really worth double dice. Initiative phase for round 9. We have Sacred coming in with 6 versus Sam 7, but the command console brings him up to an 8, making the difference, denying those melee positions.
I think that's the first, maybe second time. Actually, it's the second time this game that the command console has made the difference in initiative. And this is one of the turns you definitely want it because this one could make all the difference. We're at that point in the game where one misstep or one lucky shot or one mech that's exposed can start the cascading downfall of one player. And right now, I'm very worried for that charger that looks like he's about to jump it up behind a heavy forest.
Yeah, it looks like Sam's better judgment's getting the best of him, and he's picking something else to move because moving that charger early in the initiative phase is a blunder I don't think he should really repeat.
It looks like he scooched the Manticore a little bit, and the Marauder 2 took the bait, and the Raiden battle armor jumped into his same hex. So hopefully, we'll see some leg attacks coming out this turn.
I mean, the Manticore's doing its job. It's drawing fire. The Panther, the Marauder, everything's jumping on it. And I feel like, it was never going to accomplish more than this. This is this moment of glory where everything turns to take its time and kill it. And letting the Raiden battle armor jump on the Marauder too is, I think, a huge win in the movement phase for Sam here.
Definitely. He can either do a swarm or just start leg attacking to try to get leg crits on this thing. I don't know. The swarm is very risky because the Marauder, if it goes prone next turn and thrashes, it can just eliminate the Raiden battle armor outright.
Uh, could,
But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
couldn't the battle armor jump off of it instead? Does it have to stay?
If he gets the swarm attack right now, it can try to jump off next turn, but then you don't do any damage. You just swarm it and then jump off. Swarm it and jump off.
Yeah, but I mean, if the Marauder goes prone and tries to like thrash, like you could jump behind it and it's prone. So you just wait to see what happens.
That's also going to come down to initiative, though. He could say, depending on who wins, determines who wins that battle.
I
Because the Marauder has either the Raiden or the Marauder has to move first.
I don't think he's got a better opportunity to really damage the Marauder too, though. Like he doesn't have any serious damage on any of these mechs so far. Like he hasn't even dented the Sunderer. The Panther's hardly hurt other than that head hit. Like he has not been able to get damage on these mechs. And so trying to go in on something that can actually maybe cripple the Marauder 2 or even just delay its effectiveness for a while, I think is a worthwhile strategy for that battle armor to be doing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, hell, he may even go in there with the flamer to heat up the Marauder. That way, it can't really shoot effectively.
I mean, yeah, like any attention the Marauder 2 pays to this Raiden battle armor is a win in my book. It's like what 100 battle value versus like 3,000?
Yeah,
Like
it's definitely worth its weight in battle value for sure. Now that it's in melee with that Marauder. Okay, so the Wolverine's jumping back a little bit. The Charger did jump up, but it is behind a level 2 forest, or I'm sorry, a heavy woods. So it's going to be a little bit harder for it. Oh, and it looks like Sam might be flirting with the idea of a DFA on the Wolverine.
he's looking at the menu, he's thinking about it.
Needs an 8.
We've
Not
all
the
been
best
there.
roll. Not.
Sometimes you just want to see how bad it is, right?
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
definitely.
the Death Throw above, if it was at a better angle, could push that Wolverine into the water. And that's really
Yeah.
when I teach people about Death from Aboves, I teach them like, is your opponent standing on top of a building? Are they standing on the edge of a cliff? Can you kick them into a fuel tank? Right? Because that's the real power of a charge, is not the damage you do on the charge, but the position you can put them into. And so if you can get bonus damage by knocking them into somewhere they don't want to be, knocking them off a bridge, that's when a Death from the Bum becomes spicy, right? And that's when you want to think about it.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of would have liked to see that Chimera jump into melee with the Wolverine just to try and get more score, or hell, even jump behind the Sunder. I
I
think
feel
that
like
was
it
his
learned
last
its
move.
less I feel like it learned its lesson last move by trying to go in and punch it, and it lost objective points. So now it's kind of positioned across the river, clearly trying to threaten the Bakemono and hitting the Wolverine uh, in its rear arc. And I think that's a really good place for it to be with its pulse lasers. It's kind of can go anywhere. Like if the Wolverine jumps over the river, it can jump back over the river, right? It can jump behind the Bakemono, which by the way was getting short range targeting anyway off the Wolverine, and so trying
Very
to
true.
close with this thing is not like a loss for it. I think it's really where you want the fight to be anyway.
All right, let's get into firing for this turn on round number 9. It looks like the Ryukin nails the Marauder 2 with its large pulse laser, but that's about it. Another 10 damage here and there. You need to hit with more. Oh, man.
I mean, all that jumping is really cutting into his ability to hit things.
Yeah, definitely. And he's very far away, if I'm not mistaken. He
Yeah.
pulled back quite far with that Ryukin.
Yeah, I think targeting the Marauder 2 was a mistake here. He had better targets with the Wolverine or even the Bakemono, which was probably I mean, maybe he didn't,
Yeah,
but
he might have been out of range because that Ryukin pulled back almost to the edge of the map. The Bakemono does miss with both MRM-40s on the Aeron Strike VTOL, so it's staying alive. Speed is life when you're a VTOL. The medium laser misses as well.
yeah, the Wolverine is gonna try and unload its PPCs at the Raiden battle armor. It manages to actually hit one of them, but it doesn't kill one. So that Raiden battle armor is able to soak a light PPC shot, and everything else misses. Like we're talking tens, we're talking 12s, and that's been all game. Like everything is very evasive. Nobody's able to get good shots, except for this Marauder 2. Finally needs sevens on this Manticore tank, and it is hitting with everything. Twin ERPPCs, twin medium lasers are unloaded right into this thing's side, but it's a bunker. It just takes it right on the right side. It takes 3 hits to the right side. It's still got 13 armor remaining. It takes a hit to the turret. It's got 37 armor remaining. This is the best case scenario for the Manicore to be soaking ERPPC shots.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's already not moving, so who cares
Yeah.
if you use that armor? The Panther in point blank range with the Manticore as well misses 2 sevens, hits with one SRM4, and gets heavy damage to the motive system this time around. But I really don't think it matters. I think the Manticore is pretty much immobile at this point.
Yeah, it really just every damage it takes is the damage one of his fast movers isn't taking to the leg. It's a hit that isn't going into the charger's exposed torso.
Definitely. And speaking of the Charger, it does miss with its light and snub nose PPC on tens for both.
More fire at the Marauder too. I mean, it's probably the easiest shot, but like, I guess you have to start hurting its armor somewhere. It just doesn't feel like a good target.
And the Sunder nails the Aeron Strike VTOL with a snub nose PPC and the LBX 10. He does get one rotor hit, but the Aeron's still in the air. Not really much worse for wear, just shaving the armor here and there.
I mean, even a lot of 5 of these pellets are actually going to the right rear with the lowest armor on it, and it doesn't even punch through. It's got 2 points remaining on that right rear on this VTOL. This is a heavy VTOL. Being
Yeah,
able to take an LBX 10 cluster and just shrug it off,
as
like
well as a snub nose to that right rear too. It got hit 5 times there this turn, and it's still not internal.
it just doesn't care.
Yeah, this is a good VTOL.
And hey,
Definitely
it's
earning his
it's
battle value.
landing it's landing another shot against the Bakemono in the center torso for another 8 damage. It's only got 11 armor remaining in that center torso. That's a good hit. I think the Aaron Strike VTOL has been MVP for Sam so far.
Yeah, so far he's got the most consistent shots.
Just like the
Uh,
Bakemono though, the Aaron, that's a Cyrano. It's got one large laser, it's a heavy VTOL. Like these Dark Age variants like to have all funny names for things, but you can't fool me. I see you, Cyrano gunship.
I think this one might be a little bit faster than the Cyrano Gunship. But the Chimera unfortunately misses the medium snub nose, or the medium laser and the snub nose on the Bakemono. If both of those connected, you're getting into knocking him down territory. And it looks like the Ride and Battle Armor go for the leg attack on the Marauder. They do connect, but they don't get the free crit, missing it by 1, only rolling a 7. So 5 damage to the left leg, 36 armor remaining. That's
Interesting.
going to be a slog.
Will the Marauder try and kick the battle armor back and maybe miss? Now, the
Uh,
leg attack is an objective, right? So he's scoring 5 objective
yes,
points.
Sam is now up 5-2 on the objective for that successful leg attack.
Hmm.
And it looks like the Panther kicks the Manticore, so it's a +5 for Sacred. So now he's back up by 5, or by 2, I should say. So that missed melee attack coming into clutch for Sacred, unfortunately for Sam.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is actually a really bad position. I know I've been hailing the Manticore the whole game, but now that the Panther can just score easy kicks on this Manticore and it's got lots of armor to soak him, the best thing to do might to just leave it alone and let the Panther just have its way with it. That's going to be worth a lot of objectives. And there's nothing that can really come to the Manticore's savior.
No, not unless you're willing to commit that Ryukin and unload it into the Panther, along with the Charger, maybe.
I mean, the Aeron could fly by for another head hit and blow the whole mech up, but I don't really see that happening.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you might as well use that LBX and the Ryukin to fish for head hits on the Panther. Ooh, looks like the Aeron may have did some side slipping there. The Manticore, I'm pretty sure, cannot move, so it decided to not move.
I mean, even if it could move, where would it go?
Yeah, 1 hex back. I mean, I guess it's worth it to force the Panther to move up to you.
I mean, I guess. I suppose, but you're just like, can it even shoot? Is its crew stunned? I don't know.
No, I don't think the crew is done, but I don't think it's mobile at all. So it probably couldn't move, although it doesn't say it's immobile. So, oh, the Wolverine jumping into the hex with the Aeron Strike VTOL. That's an
Right
interesting
underneath
decision.
it.
Yeah.
It's yeah, it's a strange shot because that means it's definitely not shooting where the Aeron is, but it's the Wolverine's pointing right behind the Bakemono, so it
Yeah.
knows where the Chimera wants to go, and it's stopping it. But
Yeah.
the
That
Aeron
was
is parked right behind that Bakemono, clearly going for some rear shots.
Yeah, that was definitely a defensive move on the Wolverine, covering the rear arc of the Bakemono. But if you're the Chimera, I don't know if you really want to go into the rear arc of that Bakemono. Mainly
I mean,
because you've already opened up most of its front end. It's only got like 11 armor left in the front center torso. It's probably got at least 10 on the rear.
yeah, but I mean, like, the VTOLs are pretty limited in their movement too, and so like that side of the board is like less populated and it's farther away from the Sunder than the middle of the board would be, and so I think it's less about like what side he wants and more about like where he thinks he can keep a good TMM and to hit away from his enemies.
Okay, so that's an interesting choice. He Raiden decides not to move. I'm sorry, Defiler decides not to move the Marauder too, and the Raiden battle armor jumps into the hex with the Panther that moved to the rear arc of the Manticore. I think maybe you go for the Swarm on that Marauder since it already moved for the turn and it can't really shake you off this round.
I mean, the Marauder 2 not moving is also because it finally has vision on everything. And so it has taken the other side of the bank. It has vision everywhere it wants to shoot. It has targets. It can twist. It can fire. It's got a manticore to chomp onto. So, I think not moving it is more just like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna swarm me? Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's really not going to puncture anything with whatever weapons it has, anyways. It's got so much armor that it just doesn't care. Oh, and Sam decides to jump the Chimera back into melee range with the Panther to help out that poor little Manticore and also maybe kill that Panther because it didn't really move very far.
Yeah, I mean, getting away from the Wolverine and jumping the Panther is a great move here. It does put you right in range of the Marauder 2, but those are inner sphere PPCs, right? They got minimum range. And
No,
so,
they're ER
uh,
PPCs, so they have no minimum.
of course. So, yeah, I mean, like, that thing is probably happy for a really nice point blank target, but you gotta help. I mean, like I said, that Manticore's in a lot of trouble now with the kicks coming in. So, taking advantage of something that you can hit in this match is gonna be alpha strikes from everything we can see.
Yeah, he needs to get that Panther to fall over. That way he doesn't give up more free kicks on the Manticore. The Marauder's up on a level 1 hill, but it is adjacent to the Manticore, so it can't kick anyway.
And if he can knock it over, that's a good kick you can get there.
Yeah, then you just kick with that Chimera for TSM. That can put that poor little Panther out of its misery. Assuming that any of these shots hit. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and get into round 10. One thing to note, Sacred did lose initiative by one that turn to Sam. So the Air on Strike VTOL did fail one piloting check, and it did skid a little bit, but it was able to recover and get into a decent position in the rear of the Bakemono.
Yeah, the Manticore is going to open us up with a PPC at the Panther, trying to trade PPC blows, and it gets a left torso shot, bringing it down to 0 armor. So we got a nice exposed torso on this Panther.
That's definitely a good sign for Sam. Maybe he can take advantage of that.
Yeah, the Sunder's missing everything. It's trying to shoot at that Air and Strike VTOL, but it's got 12s and 9s on the LX-10 cluster. Not enough. Too far out of position.
Yeah, that Sunder hasn't moved in like 4 or 5 turns. It's all the way off on the left side of map, outside of the map, and Sam is rightly ignoring it.
Rauken's still hitting large pulse laser shots like it does. That's what it's going to do, and it's hitting in the Panther on the left arm. That's 2 points on the Panther that have 0 armor remaining and no internal criticals. It's also going to hit a medium pulse laser, but miss its LBX-10 to fish.
Oh man, needs a 6, rolls a 5. That could have made the difference right there.
Feels
Uh,
bad.
yep. Wolverine shoots some terrain. Nothing really important there. Charger whiffs with the snub nose PPC and the medium laser on the Panther.
Bakamoto's turning its MRMs on the Raiden battle armor. It has decided to pump 24 missiles down on these troopers, killing 2 of them.
Ooh, and the Marauder 2C, or I'm sorry, Marauder 2 is tired of the Raiden battle armor jumping around, unloads all 3 ER PPCs at them, and only hits one, needing 6s. But he does kill that trooper that he does hit. So he's down to 1 trooper left in that battle armor, which means he's in forced withdrawal.
I mean, I think this Marauder just has bad luck. I mean, needs 666, gets 459. I mean, like, this thing is not delivering the PPC hell that it promised.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely been underperforming, but even underperforming, it's still making a pretty big impact.
So the Panther, however, is going to return the PPC fire with the AR PPCs right at the Manticore, putting 10 damage to the right rear. Manticore says, I got 16 armor left. Hey, how about you give me some SRMs? It gives it some SRMs. It's like, it's fine. It's fine. It's just soaking all that damage.
And that's like the 10th motive hit this game. So that Manticore really isn't going anywhere.
We
It's
should have
still
a
not a
tally.
mobile.
How many has it been?
It's got to be 6 or 7, man. Oh man, it's so ridiculous. And then the Chimera returns fire on the Panther. This is the last chance to really put some hurt on it. He does get internal on the left torso. 3 internal structure remaining. No crit though.
The Aeron Strike VTOL is going to hit with the ER large laser at the Bakemono. Again, this thing consistently puts out 8 damage, this time to the left arm of the Bakemono, which can take it, but it's getting there.
Yeah, definitely. And the Raiden battle armor does get a leg attack on the
Oh my.
Panther, and
It
he
gets
hips it.
a hip hit, one location. Oh my gosh. That is huge. Panther getting hip hitted, totally worth the 100 BV. Raiden battle armor's coming through for the heroes we all need, and the Panther falls. 40 damage, a hip hit, it comes crashing down, losing its left torso, its left arm blowing off, right? 1 damage to the center torso, and the pilot takes damage going to 2 hits. He is in trouble. It's a leg attack. That's +5 objective points.
That is exactly what Sam needed to happen. So he's still conscious, makes his seatbelt check, but that's 5 extra points for Sam. He can still fish for objective points, I think, with this battle armor, even though there's only one dude there. With only one uh, battle armor left in the squad, it's a really hard number to hit, so this may be his last chance to do it.
Well, I think the
Uh,
Chimera is not going to fish for very much because it only needs twos. That is a sure bet on a kick to that Panther, hitting it in the right torso, getting another 5 objective points for Sam. This is a perfect jump on this Panther, like we were talking about. We got the leg attack into the knockdown, preventing the kick on the tank, and scoring 10 objective points on his own turn. That's
yeah,
great.
this was definitely a big turn for Sam. Now he's up on the objectives for the time being.
Yeah, it's definitely been a turnaround, but I still think he's on the back foot mech wise, but objectives he's scoring. And we're going into initiative phase for round 11. Sacred rolls an 11 on initiative, and Sam only gets a 6, so he's got the initiative.
Yeah, and this is huge for him. We'll see what he can do with it. All right, so Sam's going to start off wiggling his Aaron VTOL, trying to stay in the rear arc. Looks like he failed a piloting check uh, and lost some movement there, so he can't quite get back to the rear arc of the Bakemono.
Going in circles.
Yep. One thing to note, he is a 4-3 on that VTOL, which means these flanking piloting skill rolls must be pretty difficult for him. Maybe drop it down to a 3-2 next time. That way you don't miss these piloting checks and you automatically succeed on a 2. That's the
I mean,
second one he's missed.
the VTOLs are usually like this balance between like being super fragile and getting blown off the board. So will it stay around long enough to be worth its BV? But this VTOL is chunky and fast. And so it seems like really hard to put down, even with LBXs pointed at it. And so I think that investing a little bit more points into this platform would pay dividends because you want it to be hitting these shots and making these moves. And it has done that almost every turn.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it looks like the Manticore doesn't move, probably because it can't. And the Ride and Battle Armor jump away, preserving themselves to fight another day. I mean, I guess the Marauder or the Panther, if it gets up, can try chasing it.
They're
Go ahead.
providing vision, and if something gets knocked down, it can kind of jump on it. But standing still to get shot doesn't seem like a good idea. So it could always jump back on the Panther in case the fight moves away.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, okay. It looks like the Panther ejected during the movement phase. So that means Sacred is going to be conserving half of the battle value for that Panther.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, half of the objective points as well.
seeing the Charger come into this fight in the midfield, I think ejecting was the right play. That Panther with a hip crit on the ground is not getting up, is not going anywhere, and it's really not even critical to his force. It as much as getting a mech kill is a huge win for Sam, the Panther is the most sacrificial mech in this list.
Yeah, I agree. It's the slowest, and it was prone and hipped on top of being very slow to begin with. And it's also the cheapest. So that's only 900 battle value of his force that's out of the fight versus that Manticore, which hasn't moved, but still been slightly putting out damage every so often. Uh, I don't know how I feel about that move from the Charger. That Marauder can just jump into the rear arc and unload on that poor little Charger.
I feel like we're in a very similar place at the start of the match. We got a Bakamoto on high ground, a Sunder on the flank, the Marauder 2 on a hill, and Sam is like clustering behind this hill for any little bit of cover he can. It's eerily familiar, though a little bit more heated.
Yeah, definitely. And the Ryukin pulls back again for about the third time this match, trying to save itself from that Marauder too.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Chimera goes for him at a death or above here. Like, I know he might not do it, but I secretly think that's the best play. If you could kick that Marauder 2 into the river, knock it over, deny its lines of sight, right? And get a melee hit and everything. It would have been really cool. But the Marauder
Oh,
2 jumps after the Raiden battle armor, and the Chimera trying to shifts over to the side to try and avoid fire from the Bakamono and the Sunder.
yeah. Don't know if the Sunder has line of sight on it. It should be fine there, but the Chimera will have line of sight on that Marauder. I would have liked to see it jump behind the Marauder and go for the head kick. I mean, what have you got to lose at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we really got to see the initiative order there, so it might have been a Sam lost the initiative this round, so I don't think he had the opportunity.
Oh, that's fair. He moved the Charger, or he moved the Chimera to block the Marauder from jumping in the rear of the Charger. So
Ah,
that was a
yes.
defensive move.
A lot of really good defensive plays from both players.
Yeah, and I'm not a defensive-minded player myself, so it's interesting to see these two players go at it.
Yeah, and that's a really
Okay.
good lesson for a lot of the new players out there is like, why are these like little fast light mechs so valuable? Is literally to just park them in your back rear arc when you need to burn initiative early. If they're not going to be backstabbing your opponent, you can be blocking backstabs by your opponent.
Yeah, definitely. And getting into firing for this phase, it looks like the Bakemono does not hit its C3 master on the Aeron Strike
But we're starting off
Vito,
hot
sorry.
with the Wolverine, which is protecting the Bakemono with twin light PPC hits both to the rotor. We're into rotor internal structure remaining damage. The rotor is damaged, and we're gonna see if that crashes the VTOL. But twin PPCs to the rotor on shots is a really good shot for the Wolverine to be taking.
Yeah, that's real good for that Wolverine. That's real bad for the Beetle, though. I'm pretty sure each of those rotor hits is going to slow it down a good bit. Oh, now weapons fire for the Ryukin needs 8 across the board on the large and medium pulse and whiffs all 3 shots on that Marauder 2. That is not what you want to see if you're Sam right now.
The Bakemono, however, is still delivering 32 missiles onto that Ryoken. And so while it's missing, it's taking 7 clusters of missiles. Not getting
Jeez.
through any armor, not causing any critical hits, but the Bakemono delivers with those MRM 40s.
And the Marauder 2 returning fire at the Ryukin whiffs across the board, needing 9s to be fair, with all 3 of those ERPPCs. I still think that that was some of that damage should have landed for Sacred
The
on those 8s.
the Gimli Legolas dynamic between this Marauder and Bakemono is really going in the Bakemono's favor.
Oh yeah, surprisingly, those MRMs seem to be hitting more than those ERPPCs, making me eat my words earlier and complaining about it not having Apollo. Guess it doesn't need it.
Yeah. So the Sunderer is still doing Sunderer things off in the side of the map, accomplishing nothing. The Chimera, however, is missing everything. But the Aeron Strike VTOL is hitting another ER large laser in the same left arm, putting it down to 2 armor on that Bakemono. If it can get an arm critical, it can take out a whole MRM 40, which would be half of the mech.
Yeah, that can be huge. This Aaron slowly chipping away could be the difference maker for Sam this match.
The Raiden battle armor is fighting back against this Marauder. It is firing its machine guns. It is firing its flamer for 2 additional heat. I mean, it's one guy, but he's going down swinging.
Hell yeah, he is. And that 2 heat does actually make a difference because he fired all 3 of those ERPPCs. He's overheating a little bit and he jumped. So he won't be able to run his full move next turn because of that flamer, which means he has to jump if he wants to get any sort of distance.
The Ryokan manages to stay standing despite taking a punishing. But we're going into round 12 now. And we have another initiative roll. Sacred's command console not making the difference by 1 point. Sam's got a 9, Sacred's got an 8. So we're going to see what Sam can do with the initiative this turn.
Yeah, he definitely needs to get in position. He's got the Charger and he's got the Chimera in prime backstabbing position. Let's see if he can do anything with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point in the game, he really needs to start making things happening. Like the Wolverine's untouched, the Sunderer's untouched, the Marauder's basically untouched. Like he is only really put a dent in the Bakemono with his VTOL. And so, ironically enough, he doesn't have another good target to really go for from here. And his mechs are starting to feel like they're a little bit in trouble.
Yeah, definitely. Sam does move up the Ryukin again into heavy woods, getting decent shots on that Marauder 2. The Chimera runs into melee with the Marauder 2 after it jumps for 3 to get back into melee with the Manticore. The Raiden doesn't move. It stays hidden, not wanting to give up that battle value or combat objective score. The Bakemono and the Wolverine also don't move. And the Sunder moves up a little bit. In depth 1 water, it's slowly closing the gap. maybe it'll get into firing range and actually get decent shots in another turn or two.
Yeah, I mean, it's got really nothing else to do other than push across the field, and I feel like it should have been doing this from turn one, but now it's taking its time. And so with not that many rounds left in the match, which we close out at round 15, right? Like
Right.
at this point, it's got the armor, it's got the weaponry, it's got to deliver.
Yeah, and it's very dangerous at close range. It is a brawling mech, and it has not been brawling at all. It's been standing still, trying to pretend it's a sniper. And here we go, the Aeron in the rear arc of the Bakemono again. Let's see if it can get something done. Whoa, whoa, I see red. Hang on, timeout. Let's pull up our combat log here. Okay, so this is turn number 12, combat phase. Wolverine nails the Aeron with its MML5, takes one more shot to the rotor, and then it hits it again with the ER small laser for the last internal structure on the rotor. Aeron Strike VTOL destroyed by damage.
Didn't even fire its PPCs this round. Hit with everything. 2 rotor hits. This is a fantastic showing from the Wolverine, putting down this VTOL with just rotor hit after rotor hit after rotor hit. This
That's
thing took so much to put down, and the fact that it took 12 turns and has been skirmishing with this Wolverine this time has shown that, like, it may have died, but I think it was a winner.
Oh yeah, it definitely earned its battle value, and it goes to show why we limit VTOLs to only one per list. But man, needing 8s and 10s and nailing him on that 10 for that last rotor hit is just brutal for Sam. Dice definitely going in favor of SacredDefiler right there. Manticore needs 9s and 12s to hit that poor Marauder. Whiffs both shots. Not good.
The Ryokin is going to put out its pulse lasers again, and it's finally delivering a full payload at the Marauder. We've got a large laser, we've got medium laser twins hitting, and we've got even a cluster hitting for 6 pellets. Unfortunately, the Marauder just has armor. It's got armor to spare. And so, I mean, a couple of right arms are getting a little close. It's ending the salvo with 3 right arm armor, but really the thing could lose an ERPPC and we wouldn't even notice.
Oh yeah, especially with how many it's been missing.
The Charger's going to be hitting with some sub-no PPCs at the back of Mono, however. Needs at 11, rolls at 11. Into that critical left arm, punching into the internal structure, but not damaging the MLM inside. I mean, it's a good shot, but it's not good enough.
Yeah, and the Bakemono whiffs both MRM40s on the Chimera on 9s. Surprising that he went for the Chimera when he maybe that was his only shot.
Yeah, the Marauder's also going for the Chimera, and it's actually delivering 2 ER PPCs this time. Both of them to the left leg and the right torso, uh, but it doesn't punch through anything.
Yeah, probably trying to get that piloting check to see if he can knock that Chimera over before it gets a chance to earn more objective points with a kick or a sword attack.
Yeah, the Sunderer is going to be firing a Summoner's PPC at the Ryokin and actually landing a hit, going internal on its right arm, hitting another Summoner PPC at the leg, but really it's kind of inconsequential damage.
It is only 2 internal structure remaining on that arm for the Ryukin, but it's not enough to get anything this turn. Maybe next turn it'll have a chance to get rid of that arm.
The
And
Aaron Strike Fighter manages to miss its ER large laser this turn with a 2. So that's what it takes to put this thing down. Uh,
it
Everyone
only
remains standing. Nobody falls over.
yeah, it only needed 6s, and unfortunately, the Chimera missed with the majority of its weapons on the Marauder, needing 9s. Only hit with a small pulse on 7s.
Yeah, the Marauder does go in for that Manticore kick, and it does finish the thing off. 20 damage to the right rear. That nice soft right rear that's been working on all game destroys it, pops it, destroys its engine, immobilizes it. It's done for.
Yeah, that's a big objective. Now he's got more combat score there on top of a kick, giving him +5 objective points.
Yeah,
And it
he's
looks like the kick for the Chimera connects. Doesn't really do much. 16 damage to the left leg on a off the Chimera is a lot because it's a TSM mech, but he's still got 13 armor remaining.
I mean, connecting with a kick on the leg is dangerous, and 13 armor is not enough to survive another kick going internal. So it's opening up an opportunity, I think, for this Jameer to really bully this Marauder at soccer.
Oh yeah, definitely. And next turn, maybe that charger can get in on the action.
Maybe we'll see.
All right.
Uh,
Speaking of next turn, initiative phase for round 13. Here we go again. The command console coming in for the third time this game. Rolls a 6 + 2, gets him an 8 versus Sam 7.
I
So
mean,
3 turns, and this is a critical turn to win initiative on.
turning those average rolls into initiative wins is a great thing. Even though the Marauder isn't putting out crazy ERPPC shots, it is constantly delivering on that command console and really helping him gain the positioning. And I think that's really scary. Knowing that you're just not going to get your fair share of initiative in a match, uh, even in face of RNG. Now you have to fight this command console, and like, what do? You try to head cap this Marauder. I mean, good luck. It's got all the tools to defend itself from PPC sniping and Kaus headshot sniping. Like, I don't really see a good answer to try and take this Marauder off the board. You're just gonna have to hope your initiative rolls are good.
Yeah, I don't think you have a choice. You either commit to the Bakemono and have to jump across the river to get decent shots on it, or you unload everything into this Marauder and hope beyond hope that you can put it down.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like Sam just didn't bring enough gun. Like, there's all this movement, there's all this kind of stuff, but I mean, like, even his VTOL hitting shot after shot after shot, even his Ryokan hitting and those pulse lasers, like, it isn't enough to get through the armor in this list. That 100-ton difference
You know
is a
what?
big diff.
I feel like he never really got the Charger into melee so far, and he's never had the chance to. That Charger's been on the run for most of this match after taking a beating early, and he hasn't been able to commit it into melee without risk of having it destroyed.
Yeah, but I mean, like, is it if you can't commit it without risking it being destroyed, is it even good? I mean, like, it's definitely been counterplayed this match, and he's been very defensive. The train's not been working with him, but you know who doesn't care about a moat? ERPPCs and MRMs. So
Yeah,
the Charger is at the whim of the terrain, and Sacred List just isn't.
yeah. Not to mention the initiative rolls as well. Not winning initiative means you're not getting into melee with one of your two melee mechs.
Yeah, I think that's a really good takeaway here. Is that, like, people are like, how do I build a melee mech? How do I do melee? Is like, hey, have you considered a command console? A command console seems really relevant a take for any melee focused list or to
Yeah,
defend against them.
yeah, I agree. And
Yeah.
it's been worth its weight in battle value so far this game.
It is a
Uh,
heavy weight.
True, it is quite expensive, but man, getting into combat for this what phase 13. Let's see. There's only 2 more turns after this one.
Yeah,
Maybe.
so the Bakemono is missing. It needs tens against the Charger. Rolls nines both times. So close.
Yep, and the Sunder makes up for it, connecting on the Ryukin with the snub-nosed PPCs, destroying the right arm of the Ryukin this time. After getting going internal last time, only 7 structure remaining on the right torso now. After all is said and done, the LBX does connect on the Ryukin, but all of the pallets hit the legs, which are behind cover. Fortunately for Sam, ER
Yeah.
medium hits. One of the streak sixes hits
Big Streak
and
6
goes
hit with 6
internal.
missiles, just punching a bunch of things, hits the engine, pokes those holes. So an engine hit is finally the hit on the Ryokin that he's been looking for, and the Sunder is delivering.
Yep. He's got 1 structure remaining on that right torso. That is not a good look for that Ryukin.
The Ryokin manages to strike back at this Thunder Hover with a head hit. That large pulse laser hitting again, punching into that head, 2 instructional remaining, putting him up at damages. He needs a 3 to stay conscious, rolls only a 4, but he's delivering another medium pulse laser and an LBX cluster shot that hits the head again, destroying the Sunder with that LBX 10 cluster hit. He's like, "You're gonna head hit me? No. I'm not gonna take that. You're going down."
That is 3 hits from the Ryukin on the Sunder's head this turn, one from the large pulse laser, and then 2 pellets from that LB-10X, destroying an otherwise pristine Sunder outright.
I mean, this Sunder has been standing offside field, finally decides to do something, and just gets like one turn by the Ryokan.
Yeah, that was a good trade for Sam this turn. Oh man, RNG
Look,
definitely giving him the makeup call there for some of those shots that he missed earlier.
hey guys, you think a match is over? You think you know how is gonna go? You think how there's nothing left for you on turn 13? Never, never ever. Right? This Marauder is gonna put an ERPPC into the left leg of the Chimera and another one into the left arm. This Chimera has got no more armor left on that left side, and the Wolverine is going to deal us misses with everything other than an ER small laser at the Ryokan, and it's going to go critical on the right torso. We've got an engine hit. We've got a medium pulse laser crit. We got a crit that just hits nothing. Triple crits straight through to the center torso.
Yeah, that right torso is now gone from that ER small laser connecting. So the Ryukin will be in force withdrawal this turn.
You love to see a small laser do an engine hit.
That's the second kill that ER small has gotten so far. The first
It's
one was the Aaron, and
it's
now, well,
not a
it's not a
kill.
kill.
The
It's not a
Ryokan's
kill.
still going, but I mean
My,
the ER small laser is definitely putting out work.
yeah, my mistake, not a kill. But that is a big hit from
I
a
think
small laser.
I think it's definitely the open grave of the Ryokan taking these engine hits. It's lost its pulse laser, it's lost its engine. I mean, it put out this turn, but it doesn't get to put out no more. I mean, it's gonna take another shot with its LBX and its large pulse laser. Maybe it head hits the Wolverine. Who's to say?
Or that Bakemono that's already taken a head hit earlier.
The
Uh,
Chimera manages to whiff everything. The Charger
as does
only
the
gets a
Charger.
medium laser shot at the Sunderer that's already dead. Neither of these put out anything or have any scary firepower to really put down range.
The Raiden does heat up and plink the Marauder for 2 more damage.
He's on a mission. He's got to get revenge.
Yep. Ryukin and Chimera stay standing after taking 40 and 20 damage respectively.
Yeah, the physical attack for the Wolverine, the kick down on the Ryokan does 11 damage to the left torso. We're opening up the internal structure here. No critical damage, but the Ryokan is really not looking good. It has lost armor. All of this sniping and trading has really put Sam's mech into an exposed position. He really needs to get even luckier now with these Wolverine, with his Bakamoto, with his Marauder, who are still pretty well off. The
And
Ryokan doesn't fall over, however. He takes it like a champ.
yeah, unfortunately, though, the Chimera misses the sword attack on a 6, which would have hit the Marauder's leg for a good amount of damage. Oh, man, that you hate to see it. That's more objectives going the way of SacredDefiler from a missed swing. And that's a hit that should have gone through. A 6, oh, come on. That's just, I mean, he did get a one-shot kill on the Sunder, so you can only complain so much. Initiative for round number 14. This is the second to last round. We're getting into the end game here. Sacred again for the 4th time rolls a 9, 7 plus 2 with the command console versus Sam's 8. This is the 3rd time where winning initiative has made a big difference from
Sam
that
can't catch
command
a break.
console.
And he's gonna start the round off by ejecting a crippled Ryokan. He's gonna
Yeah,
just he's not gonna keep it in the field. He knows it's going down, right? He is taking it out of the fight.
yeah, it's missing a good portion of its weapons. Yeah, I can agree with that call. Conserve your battle value because this match is such a tight game right now.
Yeah,
You
I
want
mean,
to
I think the engine critical is really the death knell. It can't get away from the Wolverine. The Marauder can pick it off, right? It will die.
Yeah, and it's already opened up on that other torso that it has. So, yeah, it would not survive this turn for sure. And I don't think its firepower that it has to commit will make the difference in killing or crippling another one of Sacred's mechs.
I mean, it killed the Sunder, which is I mean, it did everything it needed to do. You can't ask more of it than one turning a mech.
Oh, the Chimera jumps to the rear arc of the Bakemono, and the Wolverine follows suit, jumping into the side arc of the Chimera to protect the Bakemono.
I mean, with only 2 turns left, I feel like these are the kind of plays you just have to make.
Yep, you got to go for broke. Let's look at the combat log. Doesn't look like the Charger moved very far. Wolverine lights up the charger. Two light PPCs, one hits, and everything else misses. ER
No,
medium, MML5, ER small, all whiff.
nothing internal. But we've got the Charger trying to return fire at the Bakemono with a medium laser. Does some damage to the center torso, which is nice. It's got a nice soft center torso with only 6 armor remaining, but it's not really enough. But the Bakemono is going to put out another 24 missiles at this Charger, and this Charger is exposed, right? Its right arm is destroyed. Its sword is taken away. Its targeting computer takes another hit in the left torso. It takes 4 damage to the head. It's got 5 head armor remaining, but I mean, like, its torsos are being obliterated. It's losing its arms. This thing is really becoming a zombie mech.
Oh yeah, and the Chimera returns fire onto the Bakemono in the rear arc. Medium laser hits the right torso rear. Small laser hits the left arm, goes internal, and finally crits one of those MRM40s. At this point, maybe you would have been better off shooting him in the front arc and
I
go
mean,
internal on the center torso.
yeah, I mean we love the small laser criticals, right? Like they're always the ones to get across that finish line here. Unfortunately, the MRM40, uh, at this point in the game, like losing one MRM40 is like good for you, but it's not. It's too late in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And the Marauder unloads into the pesky Raiden battle armor, finally hits it with an ER medium laser after missing two ER PPCs and one ER medium, putting that last trooper out of his misery.
The trooper's gonna go down fighting, hitting again with his machine gun and again with his flamer. I mean, he's only needs two, so he's doing it pretty good.
Oh, but luck swings away from Sam. Charger falls, needing a 4 with a 3 piloting skill. Rolls a 3. So that's more damage going on to the Charger that he can't really afford.
Yeah, that
Thankfully,
MRM
though, it doesn't go internal.
an MRM40 connecting can put out it's every time an MRM40 is connected, it's been pretty much close to 20 damage. So that's really good at knocking people over when one hits. When you connect hard. And so, I really think that this match shows me that the MRM40s are a scary weapon and they work.
Oh, yeah. When they work, they work. And speaking of working, that Chimera puts in another kick, earning 5 more objective points for Sam. Bakemono's down to 15 structure after taking a 16 damage kick to that right leg. One more turn, if he can get into the right arc of that Bakemono, he can guarantee the leg being destroyed if he lands a kick. You only
Yeah,
need
there's
4s for that kick, by the way.
not a good
Wow.
lot of territory on that little peninsula he's on, though. I don't know if he's going to be able to find that position. And
It's
going
gonna come
into
it's gonna come down to initiative on this last turn.
And on this last turn, round 15, we have a tie for initiative. Sam rolls an 8, Sacred rolls a 6 with his +2, brings them up into a tie. They re-roll. Sam wins out with an 11.
Man, this could be the game decider right here, this initiative roll. Let's get into it. Let's see what we've got here. This is really close, by the way.
We could
This is
probably see the move by move on this one. It's not
oh
going to be
yeah,
very long. Let's
yeah.
see.
There's all of 4 units that need to be moved. Well, there's a Kage light battle armor floating around somewhere, wherever they are.
Yeah. So, I mean, hey, anyone to take initiative at this point is a good person to take initiative.
The Bakemono does not move.
It,
There's nowhere it can go, really, that the Chimera is not going to be able to chase it.
it
Uh,
doesn't really have to go anywhere. I mean, like, even if it falls over on this turn, it's not going to be dead. Like, even if he kicks it he gets the points, but he's gonna have to stand still to do that. And this is the thing when you get behind an assault mech with your little light hitter is you can hit him once, but if there's someone there to bully you like a Wolverine, you gotta get out.
okay, so this might be the wrong call, but the Marauder 2 just moved. That Charger cannot jump because he's prone currently. I think you get him up and you walk him right up into the face of that Marauder and go for the punch.
Yeah, he's
Try and get more objective points, which is looks like that's exactly what he's trying to do.
yeah. I mean, he lost his right arm, so he put him on his left side, so he's gonna have one left punch. And I mean, it's the last punch available to him, but he's right in kicking range. But I mean,
Yeah,
there's nothing really for it, right? You hope he
yeah.
misses, you hope you hit. It's down to the dice.
Yeah, it is going to be a TSM punch though on one of those legs, which have been kicked before.
Hmm.
Ooh, the Wolverine jumps to the rear arc of the Charger, which means the Chimera is free to sit still and take that rear arc shot on the Bakemono if it so
I mean,
chooses.
the Bakamoto could flip arms, right?
It
Gives it.
could, but I mean, this is the last turn.
He's going for
He's
behind the
missing one
Marauder.
MRM4. Oh no, he should go up to that level 4 and kick for the Marauder's head. If he hits the head, it
He's
kills
go-
the Marauder.
he's going right for the rear arc, I think, so that he can try and plow
Oh
for that rear torso and try to just internal the Marauder. He's
no,
desperate, man. If he can internal the Marauder in
no,
one round, I mean, like, there's hope, and the
no.
punches could
You
happen
have
too.
a better shot of jumping on that level 4 and going for the head kick. You probably need a 4 or a 5 maybe because the Marauder didn't really move.
I think
And then
that the
you roll on the punch table for the head kick.
but the downward spot protects you from the Bakamoto's missiles.
Uh barely. Okay, okay, hang on. Let's get into this. We'll see if that call was the right one. All right, this
So
is it. Round 15.
we open with the Bakamoto putting down only 12 missiles on the Charger, right? I say it always delivers. What does it do? Immediately stops delivering. But he's got medium lasers to fire. Now that he's lost that MRM 40, finally the medium lasers come out. And the Charger is going to be putting everything into the Marauder too. It's got its medium laser, it's got its small laser, it's got another small laser. But the Marauder is going to return fire at the Charger with an ERPPC point blank. It is blowing off the left torso and the left arm right now, and it's going to just
That's it.
straight up destroyed by engine destruction. That Charger isn't going to get a chance to swing. It is down. Everything is hitting. Everything is going into this Charger. The Wolverine is pouring damage into this dead Charger. The Chimera shooting a snub nose PPC at the Marauder and missing. Small pulse lasers, though. Small lasers. They hit, right? But nowhere relevant. There's too much armor on this Marauder. There's nowhere to really find a way through. The Chimera's going in with a sword attack, trying to bring the sword, goes, only catches the right leg, 22 armor. It's a successful sword attack, you know? Like, he paid for that sword, he got sword swings. That's great.
Oh yeah. Yep. And like I said, I think you should have gone for that head kick. Uh,
Yeah.
it is what it is. There's just too much armor on that Marauder. That 16 damage kick could have made the difference.
Yeah, Kick could have
If it
knocked it over and caused damage when it fell over, too.
exactly,
But hey, he made his choices, and the game is over.
that is correct. It goes over battle value and turn wise all at the same time. That was round 15, and it went down to 84% battle value victory condition. So the only mech left standing on Sam's side is that Chimera, but the Wolverine, Bakemono, and Marauder are still standing for Sacred Defiler. So Sacred definitely has the combat objective score, but I think Sam might have the objective score because he landed a lot more physical attacks than Sacred did, if I'm
He
not
also
mistaken.
missed a couple. So, I mean, like,
He
I'd
did.
have to see the final. I think it's a really close game, but I feel like it's more in Sacred's favor. I mean, keeping that Marauder and Bakamoto alive,
Oh yeah.
right, is just that feels huge.
Yeah, he definitely got the full 50 combat score this turn, or I should say this match. And Sam, I think, because he lost so many units, he's not going to be anywhere near max because he only put the battle armor in force withdrawal and destroyed the Sunder.
Do we have the
And
numbers?
uh, we may, I don't think. Hang on, let's take a look.
Do we
We
know
have
who
the
won?
entity status. I'm pretty sure the Sacred one. Let me double check.
We need a definitive answer.
But
Yeah,
man,
I
that
mean,
was a hell of a match.
that was a really fun match. I loved watching it. I liked the play from both players. I feel like they really played to their advantages and to the scenario at hand. It unfolded very interestingly, and the random map generator MVP making a really cool battle with this hillside river, fighting over this hill. The Marauder staking itself out at the beginning of the game, being like, "I'm the high ground, I am the Highlander," and no one was able to dethrone. Like,
Okay, I don't have a definitive answer one way or the other, so we're gonna have to do the math ourselves, unfortunately.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Sacred won because he did get some melee attacks and he did max out the 50 objective score for the combat score portion.
I want to know the final number. I
Oh
want to
yeah,
see
hang
how
on.
close it was. Like I feel like Sacred definitely won, but I want to know how well Sam put up a fight here because it was really Sacred's game to lose in my opinion. From the deployment screen to the map to the mission, I feel like this was, this was like Sacred's home ground. And so,
Oh yeah, it
like
definitely was. I've got to give it to you, or I have to agree with you there. This was Sacred's fight to lose because the terrain just favored his lineup so heavily, and it's a
complete
combat objective.
yeah, complete uphill battle for Sam the whole way. And he's got the charger to charge up that hill, but not across that river. He didn't once try to walk across that river. He only jumped and flew across it. And that's something that's like really important about movement modes is that like what happens when you hit water, guys? Charger doesn't do water. Fleas don't do water.
Okay, we're gonna have to. We'll do the combat score straight up. Okay, so the Kage light battle armor were destroyed, so that's 20 objectives for Sam.
Let me pull up my
The
calculator. I'll calculate. You can wait.
Okay, the Panther
We got 20.
ejected, that's
Okay.
10,
Plus 10.
and the Sunder was head cap, so that's another 20.
Plus 20. That's a solid 50.
But remember, there's penalties for losing units, and it's
Hmm.
-7, and he lost, I think, 5 different units. I'll take that back. He did eject on the Ryuken, so he lost the Charger, which is -7. He lost the Manticore, which is another -7. He lost the Aeron, which is another -7, and then he ejected on the Ryuken, which is -4, and then he lost the Raiden, which is another -7. So
And that
he
brings
ends
him
up,
down to 18.
yeah. So I think right there, 18 versus 50 on combat score is enough to call it for Sacred, because
32 is a big difference.
yes, it is. And I don't think Sam maxed out on objective score. We can scroll through here and take a look at all these physical attacks and tally them up
Yeah, I
just to
mean,
double check.
even if there is like 7 hits in melee for him, right? To bring him up that gulf, up that 35 points, he missed some giving points to his enemy, and that just brings him up to the combat score. Right? Like
Yeah,
that doesn't count for any of the melee hits they had against the Manticore, any of the ones that kicks he had at the end. Like the Wolverine was doing melees. Like I don't think there was that big of a difference. So we can look at the final number. Let's see how many kicks he was actually able to deliver because there's a cap here, right? You can only get
you can only
40
get to
points.
50. 50 is the max.
50. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So we're back. We've done the math, and Sacred definitely won. I think Sam maxed out at around 43 points, and Sacred had 50 just from combat alone before we tally in all the melee attacks that he actually made and the 2 melee attacks that Sam missed. So,
Well, Slobber Knocker was bringing in a lot of points, but it's just not enough when you're getting slammed over and over again. Having to put yourself out of position, effectively letting your opponent control your positioning by making you go to them is bad, it turns out. You don't want to do that. And so by splitting up his 2 sniper mechs, by making his, Bakamoto and his Marauder on other sides, and just kind of just playing keep away from a Charger Chimera Ryokan list that has every opportunity to get in, you can just gun him down.
yeah, I would have liked to have seen Sam keep that Chimera and Charger together and just go from mech to mech, double kicking them every turn. Uh, like jump that Marauder too when it got too close. Uh, jump the Bakamono next. Just stay as a pair and connect with overwhelming melee and force these piloting checks on these worst pilots.
Yeah, I definitely think that there was a moment where he broke off from the hill and tried to back up to give space, and he didn't keep his mechs together. They all scattered.
Yeah,
And so
the
when
moment.
the Wolverine was able to chase down that Charger and really just bully it a little bit, there wasn't enough mech in the area to punish that Wolverine and really make it cost. And so, like he got away with it. He just kept getting away with it.
Yeah,
And that C3 and that MRM40 combo really let him reach out and touch what he needed to reach out and touch. And like it worked.
yeah, that Sunder did almost nothing this whole match, until the very end when it died. It jacked up the Ryukin on its very last turn of life, but before that, it was pretty much a non-factor through most of this match. It did connect a little bit here and there, but it wasn't a huge threat like the Bakemono or the Wolverine or the Marauder 2. Uh, I think the moment things started going south for Sam was when he swung that charger to the west side of the map and he kept the Chimera on the east side center portion of the map instead of keeping them together.
Yeah, I definitely think that like trying to go both ways is a huge mistake. Because you're like saying like there's this idea here of like I have to find a way across, but it's like find one way across, you know? Like if you split yourself, like gunlists can just shoot both of you and then reposition. Like they don't care that you're coming at them from all angles. It doesn't make it really harder for them to shoot you. And so like unless you have a really good like sandwich where you can be left and right, you're not going to be able to get around the twist. You're not going to be able to get behind people. And I mean, really, it just comes down to the river. Like, we can talk a hard game about strategy and everything, but Sam just couldn't use his fast walking mechs to engage. He had to give up the tempo and the initiative to Sacred because of the terrain and because of the command console and because of the range. Like, that's just the deck was stacked. And I think he did really good with what he had. He gave a good show, but there was no winning here.
Yeah, no, this was an uphill battle for him from the beginning. But with that being said, I think we'll go ahead and call it here. Oh, well played, Sam. Well played, Sacred. It was a good game to watch all around. Learned a lot just watching you two play.
Good games. And Sam, thanks for giving us the recording of this utter defeat.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Take some guts to show yourself losing.
An
Also,
honorable duel.
yeah, definitely. And thank you for joining me here today, Celestiun. I know it's not something you do on the regular, but maybe we can get more of these in on a regular basis.
Yeah, I'd be happy to come back.
All right. Thanks. Thanks for coming. Good night, everybody.